All right, we're going into week 13 of the college football season. This season has just flown by. We're down to the final 2 weeks of the regular season. And here's how my top 25 is shaping out. So, Ohio State last week, they were my number one team. They destroyed UCLA. They're going to remain at number one. Indiana, I dropped them to two last week after their close win against Penn State, where they barely survived. They defeated Wisconsin this week. I'm keeping them at number two. Moving over to number three, what a game this was! Texas A&M down 30-3 at halftime. They somehow claw back into that game and destroy South Carolina in the second half. The final score doesn't show that because of how badly they played in the first half, but Texas A&M, amazing season. They're 10-0. They're probably going to be 11-0 going into their final regular season game against Texas. They're definitely in the playoffs at this point. A team that isn't, though, is Alabama. They are not number 4 anymore. So let's move them aside for a second. Number 4 is now the Georgia Bulldogs blowing out Texas 35-10. Georgia is looking like the best team in the SEC right now. Georgia, even better than A&M, honestly, but I've got to keep A&M at 3 just because they're still undefeated while Georgia has the one loss. 5, I am moving up the Oregon Ducks. Their only loss is to my number 2 team, Indiana. They've handled business, but they've got a huge game this upcoming week against USC. Number 6, I'm moving up Texas Tech. They continue to blow out the teams that they're supposed to blow out. A thing I can't say about my Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, who we'll get to in a minute, they continue blowing out teams. They're just an amazing team this year. They're one of these programs that always has preseason hype and never does anything with it. They're finally doing something with it. They deserve to be number 6. Ole Miss at number 7 struggled in the first half against Florida, but they get the job done. Lane Kiffin shuts down all the rumors about him going to Florida. Good win for Ole Miss. They're at number 7. Moving on to number 8, I've got BYU moving to 8. Still just the one loss. Yes, they did kind of get blown out by Texas Tech, but that's their only loss. They bounced back nicely against a decent TCU squad. So they deserve to be at number 8. Now, Georgia Tech, I had them at 10 last week. I am moving them up just because they only have a loss. They are my worst one-loss team. Obviously, they barely survived against a terrible Boston College team. Do I think they're the 9th best team in the country? No, I do not. But I think they only have one loss, so every other team below them is going to have more than one loss besides maybe a group of 5 team. So I've got them at 9 for right now until they lose another game. Number 10, Oklahoma. After their big win against Alabama, they are now looking like a playoff team. Earlier, midway through the season, you saw the gauntlet of games that they had and thought, no way that Oklahoma wins all those games and makes the playoffs. They're now on path to do that. I believe their last 2 games are against Missouri, who's kind of fallen off. Their starting QB got injured a few weeks ago. And then LSU, who's also kind of fallen off. So Oklahoma has everything ahead of them. I've got them at number 10. Texas was my 11. They're moving down after getting blown out last week by Georgia. Moving up to 11. Let's see. This is where I did some shakeup. I'm actually moving up Utah to 11. Their only 2 losses are to the 2 best teams in the Big 12. They've looked impressive in almost every other game that they've played. They blew out Baylor again, so a great win for Utah. Moving up to 12, I've got Miami. Now, because Louisville lost, and I value head-to-head tremendously. That loss is not hurting Miami as much as it did anymore. It's kind of backward how it works, as it works in a way, but because that loss looks worse. But Louisville's not blocking them because they don't have the head-to-head. They still have the head-to-head, but Louisville has an extra loss that Miami doesn't have. So I now move up Miami to 12, which I'm moving up Notre Dame to 13, which is closer to that playoff picture. I know everybody else still probably has them in the top 10. They looked like a top 10 team in their blowout win against Pitt. And they'll continue to keep climbing as other teams ahead of them fall. But right now, I believe they deserve to be at 13. 14, that is where I have Alabama. So I'm moving Vandy down to 15 because Alabama has the head-to-head over Vandy. So dropping Vandy a few spots here to 15. No fault of their own. They just didn't play. They're still in a decent position to be in the college football playoffs. They just need a little bit of chaos ahead of them. And if you know anything about college football, chaos happens. So they just need to win their last 2 games, and they have a pretty good chance to make the college football playoffs. Moving down to 16, I did move Virginia down to 16. I didn't even want to move them down. The way they dominated Duke, all that noise this past week about the ACC not having a playoff team in because there'd be 2 Group of 5 champions that would be higher ranked than Duke if Duke won the ACC. Virginia put all that to rest with the blowout win against Duke. I love to see it as a fan of an ACC team. Great win for Virginia. They're at 16. They've probably got to win the ACC to make the playoffs. They only have 1 regular season game left. You beat your rival Virginia Tech after a bye week. You're in the ACC title game, and then you just have to win that game, and you're in as the ACC champion. So Virginia has a pretty easy path ahead of them. They control their own destiny now. Yeah, so great win for Virginia, even though I moved them down to 16. It's because Louisville's loss kind of freed up some space that I could move Miami and Notre Dame up. It happens to push Virginia back because I do think those are better teams than Virginia. But Virginia had a great win nonetheless. On to 17, I'm moving up USC. USC defeated Iowa, keeping their playoff hopes alive. Iowa's a decent team now. They've lost 2 in a row now, but good win for USC. And then I have Michigan, actually. So Pitt and Cincinnati lost, so I'm moving Michigan up from 22 to 18. Now, they win that big game against Ohio State at the end of the season. They can't lose before that either, but they win their last 2 games. They are likely in the playoffs, so they still have everything ahead of them as well. Now, moving to 19, it's a team that's going to need a lot of help now. Houston, only 2 losses in the Big 12. This is the first team, I think, that really doesn't control their own destiny. Houston can win their last 2 games, and I don't know if they get into the playoffs still. So, but still, Willie Fritz has done a good job at Houston. A great season nonetheless if they can win 10 games. Moving on to number 20. That is where I have our first Group of 5 team, actually, North Texas. They blew out UAB, something Memphis couldn't do. They are the highest Group of 5 team right now, along with James Madison, who I do have at 21, but I don't have a James Madison helmet at this moment, so I'm just going to leave that empty. James Madison at 21. Moving to 22, I've got Tennessee. They blew out New Mexico State like they should have. 23, that is where I'm moving Texas after their blowout loss. Terrible loss for Texas. I think that ends ends any chance of them making the college football playoffs. Yeah, they have Texas A&M at the end of the season, and if they win that, that'd be huge. I don't think that's going to be enough to get them into the playoffs at this point. Moving on to 24, I actually got Arizona. What a win for the Wildcats. They beat Cincinnati. They had that blowout loss to Iowa State early in the season. They have overtime or a close, I can't remember exactly, but it was a really close loss to BYU. They've looked good the past few weeks, and I believe they're worthy of a top 25 spot here. A lot of 3-loss teams to choose between, but I'm going with Arizona at 24. And then 25, I'm rounding it out with Navy. A big win over South Florida. They're now in the driver's seat to make the American Conference Championship against North Texas. Winner of that game is likely going to make the playoffs. I know Tulane is also in the picture somewhere. I should have them up here as well if I can find the helmet. I don't even know where my Tulane helmet is right now. It's probably right in front of my face. Oh, there it is on the bottom shelf. But yeah, I might as well move these guys up. I don't have a James Madison helmet. I would put them at 21. But I'm just going to move everybody up here at the end and put Tulane at 25. So that's my top 25 going into week 13 of the college football season. Ohio State at 1, Indiana at 2, A&M at 3, Georgia 4, Oregon 5, Texas Tech 6, Ole Miss 7, BYU 8, Georgia Tech 9, Oklahoma 10, Utah 11, Miami 12, Notre Dame 13, Alabama 14, Vanderbilt 15, Virginia 16, USC 17, Michigan 18, Houston 19, North Texas 20. Would be James Madison at 21, but I've got Tennessee at 21, Texas 22, Arizona now at 23, Navy 24, and Tulane rounding out the top 25.